Begin today the Gemara on Daf Kuf Yud, 11 lines down from the top of the Yomud. It said in the Mishnah, V'kulon shechasru. The Mishnah here on Kuf Tesam with Beis, it spoke about kaimitz, levaina, ketayres, these things that are all burnt and brought in the Beis HaMikdash, in the Azara or in the Heichal. So regarding any of them, if there's something that's missing of it, a mashu even that's missing of it, then it's not qualified to be brought inside. They have to be brought fully. So if there's a mashu missing and it's not qualified to be brought inside, so then if someone would be maktir this outside, bachutz, this is what we're talking about here in this pedic, halo bachutz,
like nothing,
then you would be potter. Because the rule always is, only something that qualifies to be brought inside, that you chayev for bachutz. That's what it said in the Mishnah.
Is this the bottom in Chisa, Ekon, Nechosam?
No, different Indian. Different Indian. So it said in the Mishnah v'kulan shechasru that if it's missing anything of it, kufyud 110a2, then you'll be potter. So the shaila was asked regarding this chisarin the chutz. If something went missing of this, of the ketayris, let's say, something went missing of it when? After, or was already taken out of the azara? Shmei chisarin, will I say here also that it's missing, so it doesn't qualify to be chayiv for burning it outside?
What's shmei?
Oy loy shmei chisarin, or it's not considered to be anything that's lacking. Only if it was lacking already inside, and then you couldn't bring it inside, then I say if you take it out and you burn it there, that you're going to be potter. But if it went missing after it was already taken out, then you would be chayiv. The Gemara explains, me amrin, do I say kivin the nafko if sululahu. Once nafak, that is, so once it came out of the azara, it anyways already becomes puzzle at that point. It's not qualified to be brought. And then the Torah says, if you burn it outside, you're going to be chayiv. So at that point, if this additional psul happens and it goes missing, that's not going to change the it's not going to change the isser of it being burnt outside. Only if it's inside, when it went missing. Or do I say? Oh, so sorry. The Gemara continues and explains. Mali chaser, mali yeser. At this point, it doesn't make a difference if it's missing from it or just added to it. It's anyways puzzle already. So at this point, the Torah is saying you took it out, it became puzzle, and then you burn it outside. You chayiv. So this psul as well, if it goes missing, it will not take away from the chiyuv to burn it outside. If you burn it outside, to be chayiv kares. Or perhaps I should say, yes, the Torah Taka says you take it out and it becomes puzzle, but that's if it's here fully, then in. Here the Torah said you take it out, you're going to be chayiv. True, it became puzzle, but that is the whole din that the Torah is saying, that you take it out, it becomes puzzle, and you burn it there, you chayiv. But the lesser beinei, but if there's something that goes missing of it, that's a different kind of psul. That's something that now it's not full. So if it would be inside, it wouldn't be qualified to be burnt anymore in the mizbeach. So then, you're not going to be chayiv for this.
You're not. What's
so that's the shayla. You would not be chayiv for this.
For what?
For Allah b'chutz. Amar Abaye. So Abaye answers Toshima. Let's bring a raya from Rabbi Eliezer's opinion in the Mishnah. Rabbi Eliezer Paiter. Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah said regarding the list of the cases here, the kaimitz, the levaina, and the ketayris, that he says you would be potter if you burn it outside. Achi yakriv es kulan. Unless you makriv the entire thing. So in the Mishnah there was a machlokes. The Rabbanan said if you makriv even just the kezayis of any of these, you're going to be chayiv. Rabbi Eliezer says no, you have to be makriv the whole thing. Then you're going to be chayiv. So you clearly see from Rabbi Eliezer that you only chayiv if you have the whole thing. So if it goes missing, even after it went out of the azara, you would be potter. Amalei Rabbi bar Rav Chana la Abaye. So Rav Chana says to Abaye, why are you proving the point there from what Rabbi Eliezer says? Mid Rabbi Eliezer pashat mar. You're answering this shaila from what Rabbi Eliezer says. Obviously, according to Rabbi Eliezer, there's no iboy here. Because Rabbi Eliezer's opinion is you only chayiv when you burn fully the way it's supposed to be done in the Beis HaMikdash. You burn it all fully, so you're not going to be chayiv if there's anything, even if you do a kezayis at a time. You do one kezayis, it didn't go missing. But you did one kezayis outside without it going missing, you're going to be potter. So obviously, according to Rabbi Eliezer, whenever you don't burn it fully, you're going to be potter. So according to him, there was no ibaya b'chlal. What's our ibaya? Our ibaya is according to the chachamim. The chachamim that say that if you would burn outside a kezayis at a time, then you'd be chayiv, as long as the whole thing exists still. So over here, according to the chachamim, the question is, if it goes missing once, it left the azara, maybe at that point we say that you would be chayiv still. But according to Rabbi Eliezer, there's no iboya. So Abaye responds back, Omalei, but beferish mi'eli minei de Rav. I clearly heard from Rav that he said that Where's the argument in the Mishnah between Rabbanan and Rabbi Eliezer regarding if you're burning outside only one kezayis of the whole ketayres? Rabbanan say chayiv, and Rabbi Eliezer says potter. When is that eladisa beinei? That's only if you have the whole ketayres here, and now you took a kezayis of it and you burnt it outside. But if there's something that is missing of this, it went missing, so then everybody agrees that Rabbana would agree that now you can't bring it inside the Beis HaMikdash either because it's not full. So see, Abaye explains, so Lav, don't you think that what Rav is saying here is the chasa b'chutz, even if it went missing after it was taken out of the Azara? And still, according to the Rabbanon, you won't be chayiv for this. So this should be paisha de ibaya. And says the Gemara, Loi, that's not what Rav was saying. The Chassid B'fnim. Rav was saying that the Rabbana would agree to Rabbi Eliezer in a case that it went missing when it was still inside. But regarding a case where it went missing once it was taken outside, where it already becomes possible, Lav Dafka over here, it would pater you. It's already anyways possible when it was taken out. Right? So in other words, the Mefarshim explained, the Gemara had a svara to say that it already says in the Mishnah here, this point. The Gemara is soon going to quote again the statement from the Mishnah. The Mishnah already said the point for kulon shechasru, that in any case where it goes missing, then in such a case you potter. So when Rav comes and says this point that the Rabbanan don't argue with Rabbi Eliezer when it goes missing, what was Rav adding to the Mishnah? Elamai, so Abaye thought what Rav is adding to the Mishnah is that even if it went missing after it was taken out of the Azara, he's still going to be potter. And on that, the Gemara clarifies no. Rav was just clarifying pshat in the Mishnah when it said v'kulon shechasru, that that's even according to the Rabbanan's opinion, and it's only if it went missing inside. Lav dafke if it went missing once it was taken out. So there's no raya from the statement of Rav. Now the Gemara brings the statement of the Mishnah itself that Rav said. Okay, again, did I read the whole thing over here? The law, so law the chas yes. Okay, Toshama. So the Gemara says, what does it say in the Mishnah itself? V'kulon shechasru. Everybody agrees that if it went missing, ve'krivim b'chutz, and you then go and burn it outside, you potter. So now lav doesn't the Mishnah mean that the Mishnah doesn't give any qualifications? There's no conditions. It just says if it goes missing, you'll be potter. So that means the chas b'chutz, even if it went missing after it was taken out of the azara. So the Gemara clarifies, no light, there's no rai from the Mishnah. I could say the chaser b'fnim, only if it went missing when it was still inside. If it went missing outside, we still have our shaila. And the Gemara is not does not resolve this shaila. Hamakriv kotchim. Going on to the last case of the Mishnah, it said when someone was makriv kotchim. Now what we're talking about over here is kotchim kalim, that there are the sacrificial parts in the mizbeach, and there's the meat that you could eat from it. And the halacha of burning this outside only relates to the emurim, which are supposed to be brought on the mizbeach, and instead you're bringing it outside. You're burning it outside. Now here he took these sacrificial parts together with the meat that doesn't go on the mizbeach that you eat, and he burnt that outside. And the Mishnah said you'd be chayiv for this. Why is he chayiv? There is the basar that's not burnt on the mizbeach, and therefore it's chatzitza. It separates from the fats, from the sacrificial parts that are burnt in the mizbeach, and therefore this is not being burnt properly. And what the Gemara is really asking is, if this were to be done this way on the mizbeach itself, so then it would be possible to be done that way. If so, if you burn it this way with this chatzitza of the basar that's not meant to be on the mizbeach, you burn it this way outside, you should also be poter. So Shmuel answers, Keshahavchan. The case is he has the emurim, the sacrificial parts, together with the basar, and he turned it upside down, that the meaning the fats should be touching the actual mizbeach itself, whether inside or whether outside, and therefore there is no chatzitza. And that's the case that the Mishnah says you would be chayiv. Rabbi Yochanan says, even if you didn't turn it over, that should be no chatzitza, he will still be chayiv if it's burnt outside, because v'homani Rab Shimoni, what it says in our Mishnah follows Rab Shimon's opinion that we had earlier in the Perek. The Amar Rab Shimon says, "Afil lehelo ala sela chayev." So there was a machlekes in the Mishnah before regarding shchutei chutz that does it have to be done similar to the way it is inside on a mizbeach, or even if you just burnt it on a rock would you be chayiv as well? So the Gemara here is saying now, according to Rab Shimon that says that you burn it on a rock, you don't need it on mizbech, you would still be chayiv. He would also hold regarding taking the emurim together with the basar, even though it's not being burnt in the same way like it's being done on the mizbeach, but you'll still be chayiv for this. Just like you don't need a mizbeach, it doesn't have to be done without the chatzitza. So that according to Rab Shimon, our Mishnah makes sense. Rav says, Rav disagrees with the whole premise of the question. The premise of the question was that if you burn it this way, the emurim, together with the basar that you're supposed to eat on the mizbeach, then there's a chatzitza here. Rav says, no, min b'minoi ein a chatzitz. When you have two things that are from the same kind, it doesn't create a chatzitza. So if you would burn it this way on the mizbeach inside, it's not a chatzitza. And therefore outside, you're going to be chayiv for this. Mefarshim say that the other Amirayim here don't disagree with this point of min b'mina eina chaitzitz. However, they still hold that inside it would not be kosher to burn it this way because it's not the derech. It's not the derech to burn the sacrificial parts together with the basar. And therefore they're giving other answers. Rav says the fact that it's not the derech doesn't matter. And therefore min b'minai eina chaitzitz. So inside it's kosher to be done this way, and outside you would be chayiv.
What's done with the chatzitza? What do you do with it?
It's not a chatzitza. It's not a chatzitza.
Before, what's a chatzitza? What do you do with it? It's basar. That's not.
It's possible. The whole aktara is possible. If it's a chatzitza, it's possible.
That once it's on the back, you burn it anyways. So this whole thing.
Not sure. I mean, all of them in a yated. Once it's there, you don't take it down. Could be. Okay. Okay. Zok Heilige Mishnah mincha. Shaloi nikmitza. A carbon mincha, so what has to be done with a mincha? A person, a yid, donates a mincha, so he's supposed to take off a fistful, a kmitza, and that's burnt on the mizbeach, and after that kmitza is done, now that's matter the shirayim, that for the owner to eat from it, or from the kayin to eat, the kayin to eat from it. So now, the Mishnah says, a mincha that the kmitza was not taken from it, and v'kriva b'chutz, he was makriv this mincha outside, potter. He'll be potter for this because it's not fit to be brought on the mizbeach. The kmitza wasn't done, so outside, if it's not fit to be brought on the mizbeach, you're not chayiv for burning it outside. Now, komtza, if the kmitza was separated from it, but what happened was, that kmitza fell back into the shirayim, into the rest of the flour of the mincha. And v'kriva b'chutz, after it fell in, so then he was makriv this outside, chayiv. He would be chayiv for this. Why? Because if this would be done inside, it would be kosher. So just like if inside, after it falls inside, and you makriv on the mizbeach, it's kosher. Exactly. So if you do it outside, you'll be chayiv. Fragt the Gemara, but v'amai. So on this last din of the Mishnah, the Gemara asks, why should this work? The Gemara now is asking about the last case, when it's being brought on the mizbeach. The kaimitz fell back into the flour of the mincha. Why should you be able to be makriv on the mizbeach? The batli shirayim lekaimitz, the leftovers, the shirayim of the mincha is much more flour than that fistful of the kaimitz, and the kaimitz fell inside. It should be batel b'rayv, and therefore it should not qualify to be burnt on the mizbeach.
Good argument.
Amar Rab Zeira, so Rab Zeira answers, nemra aktara b'kaimitz, v'nemra aktara b'shirayim. There's a gzeira shava. The Torah uses the term haktara regarding the kaimitz. It has to be burnt. It also uses the term haktara regarding the shirayim. Now, even though there's a difference regarding the kaimitz, it uses the term vehiktar hakainis askarasa. You should burn it on the mizbeach. Regarding the shirayim, it says it in the negative loisaktiru, that the shirayim is not burnt on the mizbeach. But it doesn't matter. It's a gzeira shava. So we're taking the two terms of haktara that it says by kaimitz and what it says by shirayim, and we say as follows. Ma haktaras kaimitz ein kaimitz mevatel chaveiroi. The halacha by the kaimitz is, what happens if you have a kaimitz of one mincha and a kaimitz of another mincha? They get mixed with each other. One will not be mevatel the other. That's the halacha. Where do we learn this from? We learn it from blood. Just like by the blood of a carbon, blood of one carbon, blood of another carbon are not mevatel each other, right? Because they're min b'minoi. And we see this from the dam of Yom Kippur. You have the dam of the par and the dam of the soyer. There's a bull and there's a goat that the kohen brings inside the kodesh HaKadoshim, and then the pasuk there says, what do you do after that when you want to spray it? When you have to spray it on the mizbeach, you mix them. You mix them together and then you spray it on the mizbeach. So you're mixing them. The dam of the bull is much more than the blood of a goat, and it doesn't get bottled. So just like by the blood we say this, the same thing by kaimitz, which is in the place, by a mincha, it's in the place of the blood. Kaimitz that gets mixed with another kaimitz, even if it's more, it doesn't become bottled. So just like this is true regarding the kaimitz, af haktaris or haktaras shirayim Ein shirayim mevatlan kaimitz. If the kaimitz falls back into the flour of the whole mincha, it will not become batal in the shirayim as well, and you can burn it now as is on the mizbeach, and therefore if this is done outside, you would be chayav for this.
So the whole reason to amai is false.
Zok teilige Mishnah, hakaimitz v'halavayne shehikriv es echad men bachutz. You have the kaimitz and the levayna. This is two things that are necessary to burn the mizbeach by every korban mincha. There's a fistful that you take off, but there's an also frankincense that you put on the mincha, and then that has to then be taken off and be burnt on the mizbeach. Which means, in order to be mater, to eat from this leftover flowers of the mincha, there are two things here. Both the kaimitz and the levayna have to be burnt on the mizbeach. So therefore, first you take off the kaimitz, put the levayna to the side, and you take off the kaimitz, and then afterwards you have to take the levayna as well and burn it on the mizbeach. Now, shehikrev es echad men bachutz. So if you were only makta, you burnt only one of them outside, chayev. So the Tanakama says you would be chayev, even though you need both to be burnt together, to be matter, to eat from the mincha. But even if you burnt just one of them, you would be chayev. What the Tanakama is saying here is similar to his shitta that he said in the Mishnah before, on Daf Kuftes, regarding when you have the full amount of ketayres. If you makter even just a kezayis, you'll be chayev, even though you have to be makter the full amount, but you could be makter a kezayis at a time. So for being makter one kezayis outside, you would be chayev. Similar over here, you have to be makter both, the kaimitz and the levayna, but if you do just one at a time, it's also good on the mizbeach. So therefore outside, if you burn just one of them, the kaimitz or the levayna outside, you'd be chayev. However, Rabbi Eliezer paiter, achiyakrev es hasheni. Rabbi Eliezer says that if you're going to burn outside just one of them and not the other, you'll be pater. It has to be both together. Just like Rabbi Eliezer says before in the Mishnah and Kuftes, if there's a full amount of ketayres, one kezayis, you won't be chayav for that. You have to be makter the full amount. Here, there's two things to be matter the mincha. You have to have the kaimitz and the levayna. So only if you're going to be makter both of them outside will you be chayav. Now, how about if what happened was echad bifnim? You were makriv one, let's say the kaimitz, you already burnt on the mizbeach. Now all that's remaining is the levayna. Ve'echad bachutz, and he took that levayna and he burnt it outside. So here everybody will agree that you'll be chayiv, even Rabbi Eliezer, because when you're burning that levayna, you're completing it, and therefore you'll be chayiv for completing it outside. Similar halacha regarding the shnei bazich levayna. There were two bazichim of levayna. There were two spoonfuls of this frankincense that were placed on the shulchan of the lechem apanim, and only after this levayna, both of these bezichon of levayna were burnt on the mizbeach, was it matter for the kayin to eat from the lechem apanim. As Rashi brings the sources, it says askara. We learn out from the psukim, that you first have to burn these two bezichim of levayna to be allowed to eat from the lechem apanim. So the Tanakama says shehikrev es echad men bachutz. If you burnt one of these bezichim outside chayev, you would be chayev. Just like he said before regarding this kaimitz and levayna, you burnt one of them outside, you'll be chayev here as well. You don't have to burn them together. You have to eventually burn both of them, but you can burn one at a time. That one at a time, you burnt it outside, you'll be chayev. However, Rabbi Eliezer paiter achiyakrev es hasheni. Rabbi Eliezer says, since the full mitzvah here to be matter, to eat from the lechem apanim is to burn both of them, you have to burn both of them outside to be chayev. Echad b'fnim ve'echad b'chutz, similar to what we said before. If you already burned the first spoon of this levayna on the mizbeach, and now you take the second one to complete it, and you complete that outside, chayev. Here, even according to Rabbi Eliezer, you'll be chayev because you're completing it fully, and you're completing it outside, you'll be chayev. So Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha here had an ibaya about this halacha regarding a mincha. That a mincha, again, the point here is a mincha, to be matter the shirayim, the flour, you have to be makter the kaimetz and the levayna. So Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha's shaila is, how about if he was only makter one of them, kaimetz? He was just makter the fistful of that mincha and not the levayna. Ma'u sheyater kenegdei b'shirayim. Should I say you just did half, only the kaimetz you burnt? Would that now be mater half of the flour of this mincha that you could eat from it? When you do the levayna, so that you did the other half, so now it's matter the other half of this flour. Do I say mishra shari, that by being makter half of what you're supposed to, so it's matter half of the flour of this mincha, and then you'll be makter the levayna, it'll be matter the other half? Or do I say no, klushi miklash? The Torah is saying you have to be in order to be matter this flour, you have to be makter both of them. If you makter only one, it's not going to be matter 50% of this flour. it's going to bring down the Isser one level. It's going to be less of an Isser because you already did part of the heter. It weakens it. But the Isser is still there on the entire 100% of the shirayim of the flour, that you can't eat it until you makter the levaina as well. So according to Rashi's pshat, in the first tzad of the Sibaya, that it says Mishra Shari, the Kayin could actually choose any 50%. Once he's makter just the ketayres, he can choose any 50% of this flour and say, okay, the heter of the ketayres, the heter of the kmitza that is for this 50% of the flour. Then when I'll be makriv the levaina, it'll be a heter for the other 50%. We divide it in the quantity, 50%, 50%. But in the second side of the Ibaya, it's saying, no, it's the whole 100% of the flour is all one thing. And what it's saying is you have two things in order to be materet. When you will makriv one part, it starts the heter. It's incomplete though, and we call it, the Gemara says it's weakened. And then when you're makriv the other half, it completes the heter. That's the shaila here. Now the Gemara explains, according to who are we asking this question? So first the Gemara brings up a machlokes that there is in Gemara Menachos about these two things, the kaimetz and the levaina. So aliba the man, according to who are we asking this question? Aliba the Rab Meir, would it be according to the opinion of Rab Meir? Now what did Rab Meir say? Rab Meir says that even by chatzi mater there's a din of pigul. So this mefaglim b'chatzi mater is in this case here. You have the kaimetz and you have the levaina. These are two things that have to be burnt on the mizbeach to be mater the shirayim. Okay, now the kain has the machshava of pigul when he's burning the kaimetz, that I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna eat this mincha shaloi bizmanai, but that kaimetz though is only a half a matter, because the levaina you need the other half in order to be matter. Says Rab Meir, even though the halacha of pigul always relates to an aveda that you do with a carbon which is called a matter, this aveda which is matter the carbon, like shchites, rike, and all the other stages of the carbon that are matter. Here though, regarding burning, you have to burn the kaimetz and the levinas. As Rab Meir, you had the machshav of pigul regarding just the kaimetz, that will be pigul. Even though the other half, levina, he did not have the machshav of pigul. So according to Rab Meir, if he says that this is the case, that mefaglim b'chatzi mater, so that mishra shari, it's clear that Rab Meir holds that just burning the kaimetz itself brings an effect for 50% of this mincha a full heter. Because if it doesn't bring a full heter, there's no din of pigul. The din of pigul only applies when the kayan had that machshava of pigul regarding an aveda that he does that affects a full heter. So it must be that Rab Meir holds that just being makter, the kaimetz itself, affects 50% of full heter. So there's no ibaya according to him. On the other hand, iya liba de rabbanon. According to the Rabbanon's opinion, the Amri, this is the Rabbanon over there in Menachos. They say, "Ein mefaglim mechatzi mater." There's no din of pigul if the kayan has the machshava of pigul regarding just half of the mater. So since here there are two parts of the mater, the kaimetz and the levaina, the machshava of pigul on one of them will not qualify as the machshava of pigul. So it says the Gemara, if so, according to the Rabbanon, there's really no reason, there's no source to ask this whole shaila, this whole ibay that Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha asked. I could say that according to the Rabbanon, if you're makter just the kaimetz, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't affect the heter for 50%. It doesn't weaken the isra that there is to eat from this flour before you finish what you have to be makter, because they go together. It's one. You have to have the kaimetz and the levaina. Just like we see regarding the halacha of pigul. If you would have a machshav of pigul on a half of it, on just on the kaimetz, it doesn't do anything. So that means, according to the Rabbanan, there's no reason to think that being makter half, only the kaimetz, would have any effect at all. According to who is the ibaya? So that the ibaya here does not fit according to these Tanaim in Masechta Menachos. So the Gemara comes back to the Tanaim here in our Mishnah. There was a machlokes between Rabbanan and Rabbi Eliezer regarding burning it outside. If you burn it only half, only the kaimetz outside. So now, leave it at Rabbi Eliezer. So again, Elo, that is. Elo, leave it at Rabbi Eliezer. You'll say that the Gemara has a shaila here according to Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says if you burn only the kaimetz outside, you're going to be potter. So says the Gemara, there's no shaila according to Rabbi Eliezer either, because Rabbi Eliezer k'Rabbanan svirelei. Rabbi Eliezer holds like Rabbanan, the Amri ein mefaglim b'chatzi mater, that there is no machshava of pigul that affects if it's half of the mater, and therefore if you burn it outside as well, it's not a haktara fully of a carbon, and therefore you're going to be potter. So he holds the same like the Rabbanan, so this is not an ibaya at all. So the Gemara concludes, according to who did Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha ask this shaila, Ella aliba de Rabbanan. The ibaya was here according to the Rabbanan. So the Hacha, the Rabbanan of our Mishnah, not the Rabbanan in Masechta Menachos. What's the Pshat in the Rabbanan's opinion? What did the Rabbanan in our Mishnah say? If you burnt only the kaimitz outside, you're going to be chayiv for that. Why did Rabbanan saying that you're chayiv? You didn't burn the full thing. So what's the Pshat? Our Rabbanan saying Mishra Shari, because even just that part has a certain effect. And what's the effect? That it's mater 50%. So if you burn that outside, you're going to be chayiv. Just like on the Mizbeach, it qualifies to accomplish something, that it's mater 50%. So outside you're chayiv. Oh, he worded Rabbanan saying different. Kolish miklash. It's not going to be mater 50%, but it's going to weaken the Isser. So it has a certain effect. Lagabi the din of burning outside, the din of halah bachotz, you would be chayiv if you do something that if it was done inside on the mizbeach, it would have also this effect, even if not the effect of being mater mamish, but it has an effect to weaken. And that's the basis of the Rabban's opinion, that you'd be chayiv outside, because miklash kolish is enough of an effect to say that you'd be chayiv if you do the same outside. So that's the shaila according to the Rabbanan in our Mishnah. Teiku, this remains unresolved.
Back to the Mishnah. If you have kumitz outside and levana inside, okay, kumitz I understand, but the levana that was done inside, is that
Yes.
That's okay.
Yes, it is. Mishnah hazayrik mixas dam bachutz. If someone sprayed some of the blood of a carbon outside. Right, so if you have a carbon and it has to be sprayed in the mizbeach 4 times, and he went and he took some of the blood and he sprayed it 1 time outside. We're talking over here about carbonis that are sprayed on the outside mizbeach. So there we had already before in the Masechta that if you spray even just 1 time, it qualifies for the kapara. So regarding that, it's pashut that if you spray 1 time outside, you would be chayiv for this because you're doing something that in the mizbeach would qualify. But here actually, this Mishnah includes even a case, as Rashi says, chatois hapnimiyos. The chatois that you take their blood to spray on the inside mizbech and the heichal, it must be sprayed on each one of the 4 corners. If you do it once, it's not going to qualify for the kapara. And on that, the Mishnah is saying that even this, if you sprayed once, miktsas dam outside, you'd be chayiv. And this is something actually that everybody agrees to. Even Rabbi Lazar that said before that if you took 1 kizayis of a ketaitis, or if you take half and you burn it outside, you'd be potter. But over here, even though it's only 1 time blood out of the 4 times, you would be chayiv. And the Gemara will explain why Rabbi Eliezer agrees to this. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, not Rabbi Eliezer as and says another day, and af hamanasach mea chag b'chag. If you take the water from the nisach hamayim on sukkis, and instead of pouring it on the mizbech, you pour it outside, chayiv, you'll be chayiv as well. Now, Rab Nechemya adds another case where there's a chiyuv for burning outside or doing davaid outside. Shiyarei adam. When you have the bloods, after you already sprayed it on the mizbeach, what happens with the leftovers of the blood? You pour it on the foundation, on the base of the mizbeach. So, according to most Tanoim, that's an aveda that's not ma'akiv b'chlal. So if that's done outside, you'd be potter. However, Rab Nechemya says, no, shiyarei adam shekrivim b'chutz chayev, because his opinion is that spilling the shirayim on the yisayr of the mizbeach is ma'akiv, and therefore if you do it outside, you'd be chayev for that. The Gemara explains the first case of the Mishnah. Omar Rav says, "Umayde Rabbi Lazar b'damim." Regarding the bloods, Rabbi Lazar will be made that even though you're only spraying once out of the 4 times, still you'd be chayiv for this. Even though Rabbi Eliezer is the one that said in the Mishnahs before that if you take 1 kizayis out of the whole ketayres or the kaimitz out of the kaimitz and the levina, you'd be potter. But here, 1 time blood, you'd be chayiv. Why? Because the Tanya or the Tnan, we learned the Mishnah says, Rav Lazar and Rav Shimon, Rav Lazar and Rav Shimon say regarding chatois hapnimiyos. For example, the carbon on Yom Kippur. The blood of the carbon of Yom Kippur, the bull and the goat, have to be sprayed on the inside mizbeach. So they say, what happens if the kohen is doing the kohen gadol is doing the avodah Yom Kippur inside in the heichal, and he sprayed the blood once on the mizbeach, and the blood spills? What do you do then? So Rabbi Eliezer and Shimon both say, you're going to have to shecht a new bull to bring to finish what you didn't finish yet, but you're going to start from where you stopped. You don't have to do it all over again. The blood that you already sprayed is good, and then you just continue. If you sprayed once, now you have to spray another 3 times. What do you see from this? That Rabbi Eliezer over here is also saying that even though you only did part, but what you did is done. And then when you're going to have to do over, you're just continuing from where you left off. You don't have to actually do it over. And therefore, that 1 time qualifies by dam. That 1 time qualifies. And therefore, if you do it outside, you'd be chayiv. Then the Mishnah said, you take the mayim Nisach Hamayim and you do it outside, you'll be chayiv as well. Amr Rabbi Yechanem Shun Rabbi Menachem Yudfa. He said in the name of Rabbi Menachem from Yudfa. Rashi says the name of this place was Yudfis. It's a place in Eretz Yisrael. So he said, Rabbi Lazar B'shittas Rabbi Kiva Rabbi Yomra. What Rabbi Lazar says here in our Mishnah, that if you pour the Nisach Hamayim outside, you'd be chayev. He's saying this according to the opinion of Rabbi Kiva, which was his Rebbe. The Amar Nisach Hamayim Dairaisa, because Rabbi Kiva is the one that says that the source for the mitzvah of Nisach Hamayim on Sukkos is learned from the Lashon of the Pasuk. Tanya, as we learned in the Braisa, Rabbi Kiva says, it says in the Pasuk, Un Nisacheha. Right, there's all the days of Yisukkos where the Torah says every day the karbanos that have to be brought. One of the days, it's instead of saying niska in a singular term, it says unisacheha. Why is it saying a plural term? Bishnei nisuchem akasam medava. This is the source for nisach hamayim. It's speaking about two things that are poured on the mizbeach. Echad nisach hamayim, vechad nisach hayayim. It's pouring the wine, the water on the mizbeach, and pouring the wine on the mizbeach. So since what Rabbi Yechanan is saying in the name of Rabbi Menachem is, since this is something which is minat Torah, so therefore, if it's done outside, then you'd be chayiv for this, because this is something that you're obligated minat Torah to pour on the mizbeach, and that's therefore outside you'd be chayiv kodesh. Amalei Reish Lakish Rabbi Yechanan, but Reish Lakish asks Rabbi Yechanan on this. He's saying that this is based on what Rabbi Kiva said. It's learned from this drasha nisachel. But if that's the case, why wouldn't I compare the nisach hamayim to the nisach hayayin and say as follows? Just like by the wine, what's the minimum amount of wine for the smallest carbon? 3 lugin. Avkan shleishis lugin. So here regarding the water, your chiyuv should be only if you pour 3 lugin. And the question is, but if you look into the language of what Rabbi Lazar said in the Mishnah, what Rabbi Lazar may hachar kama. Rabbi Lazar says in the Mishnah, if you pour the waters that is poured on the mizbeach on Sukkos, you pour it outside, you'll be chayiv. And he didn't say a lashon of 3 lugin. But if you're learning it out from the word unisachel, shouldn't we compare it to the wine, which is, they're both in the same word, you should compare it to the wine that has to be 3 lugin. Another question he asks, some are greatest here, v'oid, that ima lahalon b'shayim meisashan. Just like regarding the wine, you chayiv if you would pour the wine outside. Any day of the year, so afkan b'shari meisashana. So wouldn't we compare and say the same should be regarding the water, that it should be every day of the year? But with Rabbi Lazar b'chakama, Rabbi Lazar clearly says in the Mishnah that this is only if this is done on Sukkos, then you would be chayiv on this. Taisvus has a problem with this over here. That why would I say that this should be every single day of the year? Why would I think that nisach hamayim, which you don't even bring b'chlal any day of the year, that if you pour it outside, you should be chayiv for this? Rabbeinu Tam says, based on what it says in the Gemara in Tainus, that according to Rabbi Kiva, it comes out that he holds that Nisach HaMayim wasn't every day of Sukkos. Nisach HaMayim was only the last 2 days of Sukkos, Yom Machreinim. And the Gemara is asking on this, but if you're comparing it to the wine, it should be every day of Sukkos. But the Gemara doesn't mean every day of the year. But in the simple pshat of the Gemara, Rashi learns that seems that the Gemara is asking that there should be even every day of the year. So therefore, the Gemara says, Ishtamitze, that what was said in the name of Rabbi Menachem Yudfa, he forgot, or he didn't realize this, the Omer Rab Asi. This is what Rab Asi said, Omer Rab Asi, Omer Rab Yechanan, Mishum Rab Nechunya, Ish Bika Beis Chorsan. Rab Yechanan said in the name of Rab Nechunya, which was from a place called Beis Chorsan, so in other words, Rab Yechanan himself said before what he said in the name of Rab Menachem Yudfa, but apparently afterwards Rab Yechanan heard from Rab Nechunya something different. And that is that what's the source for Nisach HaMayim? It's not from the Lashon of the Pasuk in Nisachel. It's a halacha l'Moshe Misinai. And he heard from him that there are 3 things that they learned from halacha l'Moshe Misinai. One is Esen Netiyos, when you have 10 saplings that are growing in a beisah. This is related to Shemitah. Shemitah, the halacha is, minat Torah, that you're supposed to stop doing the work in the field already 30 days before Rosh Hashanah. However, there's an exception when you have saplings, which need the water and they need to be taken care of in order that they should grow. You can do the work with them up until Shemitah itself. But then there's a halacha l'Moshe Misinai that if you have 10 saplings spread out equally in this base sa'ah, which is 50 by 50 amas, that area of a field, so then you could do work in the entire field, not only in the area of these trees themselves. And that's halacha l'Moshe Misinai. It's one halacha l'Moshe Misinai. Another one is arava. The halacha of arava in the Beis Hamikdash on Sukkos when they put up the large aravas on the mizbeach. And the third is nisach hamayim. pouring the water on the sukkahs. Ta'alach l'Moshe misinai. It's not learned out from the Sechah, comparing it to yayin, the wine that's poured in the mizbeach. It's a separate halach l'Moshe misinai. And therefore, it's this, if you pour outside, you'd be chayiv, and we don't compare it to the wine. It doesn't have to be 3 lugin, and it's only on sukkahs when you have this halach l'Moshe misinai. Okay, one more piece here. It's like the Gemara, Tana Rabbanon, we learned in the Braisa, Hamenasach, Shloishes lugin mayim b'chag, b'chutz chayiv. If you pour 3 lugin of water on sukkahs outside, so you'll be chayiv for doing the avodah outside. Rabbi Lazar Eimer, Rabbi Lazar says, Im malon l'shem chag chayiv. If you filled it up for sukkahs, for the mitzvah of the nisach hamayim that has to be done in sukkahs, then you'll be chayiv. So it's not clear what exactly Rabbi Lazar is coming to argue with the Tanakama. So my benayo, what is the difference between the Tanakama and what Rabbi Lazar says? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says the difference is b'yesh shir b'mayim kamiflagi. They're arguing about whether is there a shear to this water, which means the Tanakama, when he says that you're pouring shloishes lugin of wine, not wine, sorry, of water, that is, he didn't mean only shloishes lugin. What he's saying is when you fill up this vessel, so the amount that's needed is 3 lugin. That's for the mitzvah. But what's if it contains more? So then it's also fine. Could you pour in the mizbeach extra? Yeah, why not? Yesh b'chlal masayim maneh. If you pour more than 3 lugin, it has 3 lugin in it. So therefore, the Tanakama holds that even if you filled up more water and then you go and you burn that outside or you pour that outside, you'll be chayiv. But according to Rabbi Lazar, he says that the chayiv is only for this amount of 3 lugin. It has to be dafka 3 lugin and not more, because that's what the mitzvah is, and the mitzvah is the tzleiches shel zahav. Rashi says it was this golden vessel that was dafka exactly 3 lugin that they used to fill up from the shiluach, from a special spring, and not more than that though. More than that is not fit to be sanctified in this keli. So there is a shear for this mayim. Has to be. That's what he's saying. It has to be l'shem achag, meaning that shear. But more than that, the klisharis is not going to be mekadosh more than this, and therefore you're not going to be chayev for the extras that's more than that. That's the machlekes according to it of Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Papa says the machlekes is different. Bekarvu nisachim b'midbar pligi. The argument over here is: was there the din of nisachim to be added together with karbanis in the midbar? That's what they're arguing about. So Rashi explains what's really the machlekes here. So there's a little bit of a cheshbon here, and the point that Rashi explains is there's an argument whether when the nisachim have to be brought by the bama of a yachid, do you have to have a keli or not for this? What is the point over here? If they brought nisachim in the midbar, so then there's a big problem with what it says in the lashon of the pasuk, because in Parshas Shlach the pasuk clearly says that the mitzvah of nisachim is b'vayim al haaretz, only when they come into Eretz Yisrael. So why does the pasuk say that the mitzvah of nisachim is only when they come into Eretz Yisrael? So the answer is because even though they already brought in the midbar the nisachim, but the pasuk is saying when you come into Eretz Yisrael, there you're going to have the bama of a yachid. Even individuals that are going to have their own bama, you can bring nisachim there even privately. That's the chiddush of what the pasuk is saying. Now, what does that mean? What that means is that you don't need a kli shares for nisachim, because by a bama of a yachid there is no kli shares. They don't have the holy vessels that are used in the Beis Hamikdash. It's a private bama that a person is bringing his carbon for it. So from here you see that you don't need kli shares for the nisachim. That's one opinion. But the other opinion is, and that's Rabbi Lazar Rab Shimon, that no, the nisachim, nischamayim, nischayayin, has to have a kli shares dafka. Why? Because in the midbar they did not bring any of the nisachim. When they came into Eretz Yisrael, here the Torah is saying, you come into Eretz Yisrael, you're going to bring the nisachim. Where? Where do you bring the nisachim in Eretz Yisrael? Only in the Mishkan Shiloi or in the Beis Hamikdash, not privately in a Bamas Yachid. And therefore you must have a kli shares. So what Rav Papa is saying is, the argument here between the Tanakama and Rabbi Lazar is, if you have the nisach hamayim without a kli shares, and you poured it outside, will you be chayiv for this? So that's really the point here. If it's done without a kli shares, are you chayiv? Now the Gemara doesn't say that clearly. The Gemara says that they're arguing about the karvu nisachim b'midbar, because that's the source of the whole thing. It's based on whether they brought nisachim in the midbar. If they did bring nisachim in the midbar, then we're forced to say that when it says in the pasuk that only when you come into Eretz Yisrael, it's adding there a chiddush that in Eretz Yisrael you can bring it without a kli shares, even by a private bama. So then now you have this halacha that the nisachim does not need a kli shadis, so you'll be chayiv if it's brought outside that way as well. But if you say that it was not brought in the midbar, so then we have no source to say that the nisachim could be brought without a kli shadis, and therefore Rabbi Elazar ben Rab Shimon is saying that the nisachamayim without a kli shadis will be potter, and that's why he says it has to be molon l'shem chag, has to be in a kli shadis. That's Rav Papa's pshat. Another pshat, Ravina says, the argument over here is whether you could learn out nisach hamayim from nisach hayayin, which means that Ravina is saying everybody agrees regarding the nisach hayayin that it does not have to be brought in a keli, because in the midbar they brought the nisach hayayin with karbanis. Then the pasuk says when you come into Eretz Yisrael you can bring it on a bamas yachid without a keli. That everybody agrees. No need for a keli. But if you look here at the machlokes, they're specifically arguing about the nisach hamayim, the water, not the nisach hayayin. Why are they arguing specifically about the nisach hamayim? Because the machlokes is, regarding this, we don't have a clear source that you don't need a keli for the mayim. So the argument is, do we compare the nisach hamayim to the nisach hayayin, just like by the yayin, you can pour it without a keli, without a kli shadis. So too, the nisach hamayim can be poured without a kli shadis. And therefore, if you burn it in this way, outside, you would be chayiv. Or do I say, no, the nisach hayayin, there I have a source in the pasuk b'vayachem that when you come into Eretz Yisrael, you don't need a kli shadis. But for the nisach hamayim, I don't compare that. Nisach hamayim has to be done in this proper kli shadis, and therefore, if you burn it without, or if you pour it without a kli shadis outside, you'd be potter. That's the pshat in the Braisa.